Everyone, thank you so much for joining the AWS with Great Mountain session. We have Vidya Sagar, our pre-sales consultant from Redington Value, who will be running throughout the session. We hope he will provide you all the information required, and you can go to the Q&A bottom on the left. At the end, you can post all your questions there, and at the end of the session, we will answer all your queries. I want also to thank Muhammad Firdos from GMC for joining and for your support. So, Vidya, now over to you.
Thank you, Ragda. Thanks for the introduction and all. Hi, team. Good morning. My name is, as mentioned, Vidya Sagar. You can call me in short Vidya. So today I'm the presenter for your session. I'm just sharing my screen. Just a second. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, Vidya, you can
Okay.
proceed.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Thanks, Ragda. Thanks for joining us today, folks. Today we are going to discuss about AWS web services. Actually, first of all, when you go into AWS, let's understand what is the agenda. Introduction to AWS Cloud and global reach, and AWS main services like compute, network, and storage and database. And there are other advanced services like there are 200 plus services are available in AWS. In that, we're going to pick up few services and I will explain to you. In the end, we'll have a Q&A session. This session going to cover around 4 topics roughly. So each session I'll give a breakup so that you can have a, if you have any questions you can ask us directly or you can chat on the Q&A session. In the end of the session, I will try to reply to all, try to answer all the questions. Okay. Uh, Now, first of all, when we move to a topic, anything, to understand what is the a full form of a company or whatever. So, in our case today, we're talking about AWS. So, first of all, we need to understand what is AWS. AWS is nothing but Amazon Web Services. So, in Amazon, we might have seen they have so many services are available, like in terms of e-commerce website and other stuff. At the same space, they are also having the cloud technology, which predominantly they will offer from a public cloud services. Okay. So first of all, when you move to public cloud, we just understand the what is the basics of cloud services. Okay, before moving to AWS. So there are 3 variants of cloud services are available. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. There are 3 variants of cloud services are available. First one is basically IaaS, and second one is PaaS, and third one is SaaS. So when it comes to IaaS, basically when you see like compute power, storage power, networking, these stuff belongs to IaaS, infrastructure as a service. When you add a top of operating system, some kind of middleware application, that comes under PaaS technology, platform as a service. So when you offer all the services, including your application, infrastructure as a service, PaaS, and your application on top of it, that is called SaaS model. So what AWS is offering currently, or AWS is offering IaaS and a PaaS, and also there is a packaged SaaS model. So why I mentioned package? Because when you're offering a SaaS model, uh, AWS is having a tie-up with major service provider companies who develop the softwares. In terms of example, you can consider SAP is one of the biggest example in our AWS cloud technology. So we collaborate each other. We will offer the full solutions to the end user through our partners. So that's the reason I call it as a packaged SaaS model. So in what happens when your customer is looking for any SAP application need to be deployed, then he can come to knock our AWS door. Then we'll offer him the complete solution, including SAP licensing kind of thing also. Through AWS, we can offer the complete solution to them. Okay, that's the reason we call it as a package SaaS model. Rest of the things we already aware that IaaS definitely infrastructure as service providing like servers that comes on like instances. I'm going to tell you in next slides. And there is a storage that's going to be called as EBS volume, and there is a networking also there. And there are other things like operating system is available. You want to run any database services, that also available in AWS. So infrastructure PaaS is already available. SaaS model is already available, but it's come like a package, and customer will also have an options actually. Okay. Before we move into the full solutions, next topic is we're going to understand what is the global reach. Okay. So I explained about AWS, what is AWS and what is the advantages and all. Now, just brief you about what are the experiences we are carrying in the market. We started in 2006 as a AWS company, and our services, as I mentioned earlier, it was 200 services are available in the cloud space, and we have global footprint like 24 regions and 76 availability zones and 216 edge locations. So in coming slides, we're going to talk about what is region, what is availability zone, and edge location. And our pricing philosophy is that from 2006 to till now, whenever we launch a new instance, the instance cost will be less and performance more comparatively to the old instance. That is what our pricing philosophy. Till now, we have reduced our 80 plus reductions are happened till today in our AWS infrastructure. Okay. So now we are going to talk about uh, what is a global reach. Okay. So when you are talking about a global reach, we try to understand what is a region and what is availability zone and what is the edge location. So when you talk about a region is something like a geographical location. Means, for example, comes to our place, Middle East and Bahrain is our one of the region. Okay, Middle East is a region, that's a geographical location. Like that, we'll have a USA West and USA East and Canada and South America is one of the regions for us. What inside the region will be there? At least minimum two availability zones will be available in each region. More than two availability zones will be there. So each region contain more than two availability zones. So region, I hope you understand. Next is availability zone. So what is inside the availability zone? So first we understand region. Each region contains two availability zones. More than two availability zones are available in region, and in availability zone we will have a physical data centers. So in each availability zone there will be a multiple data centers. So that information AWS will not disclose to anybody because of the security reasons. But in each availability zone, again there will be a physical data centers. There, those are multiple. Okay, like that in each region, at least minimum two availability zones, and more than like in the Bahrain region, we have a three availability zones are available. Okay, and availability zones, I explained that it's a physical data centers which contain server, storage, virtualization, networking, security, all the cables, whatever you see in the data center, cooling, power, everything will be available in availability zones. What is edge location? The edge location concept is very simple. The edge location, for example, when you are trying to watch a movie on mobile, okay, whenever you demand, means whenever you click on some buttons on the app, and the YouTube or Netflix content is playing whenever you request it, right? How this is happening? Because it's not storing on your device, first of all. How this is happening? So how this is going to happen is because of the edge location. What is contains inside the edge location? It will have something called cache mechanism. Cache mechanism will be there in edge location. So what contains in AWS format? It's called CDN. That means content delivery network. And there is another concept called CloudFront. So these two technologies together, they form an edge location. Okay. So that forms the edge location. And this is we're talking about region and availability zones. Region and availability zones. And we talked about availability. This one. Next one is we're going to talk about what are the major certificates are available to fulfill the AWS cloud, whether it is secure or not. What is the strength is there? So these certificates are majorly from prestigious organizations, and if these guys says that this is a secure company, that means they will check the all the formats and all the infrastructure verification, everything. then only they will release a certificate. So AWS Cloud is certified by these many companies. Okay. Now we talked about AWS regions and availability zones and edge locations. Now we are going to talk about what is the bandwidth. Okay. So each region is connected with backbone of networks. Okay. So it is owned by AWS team, and this is there is no third party involvement to manage this network. So AWS is only taking care of their complete infrastructure like regions, availability zones, and edge location. Same time, they are also taking care of their network backbones as well. So they don't give any contract to third party person to maintain. So that's the reason it was very secure, and this network is vast and it's established and is high available. In case of any one line of the connection is disconnected, alternatively they will have a backbone is available for the to connect to the other regions. Okay. So as I mentioned, these cables, all this used like fiber channels and all, and this is a brief example of uh, availability zones and how it forms. Okay. For example, if you take a region of Bahrain, for example, for in our case, there is a transit center 1 and transit center 2. Okay. Each transit center there is something called a data center. Okay. So sorry, transit centers and two transit centers are there. So in each availability zone will, as I explained you, multiple data center will be there. So okay, one availability zone 1 and availability zone 2 and availability zone 3. There are three different availability zones are available, and each availability zone and interconnected and highly available. Okay, and what is contains in the transit center, it will have like power, cooling, and full maintenance of these availability zones. All full control will be there from a transit center, and like that we'll have a two transit centers, and these transit centers will power to run this data center. There is a power requirement will be there, no, that power will come from two different sources. That means two power plants separately coming to this transit centers. So there is no one power plant is supplying power supply to one transit center, and second is coming from same, but there are different power supplies also will be there, power units I'm talking about. So which then in case of any power failure happen to one transit center, and the rest of the transit center will be going to take care of the entire load. Okay, it is capable enough to handle uh, one one transit center can capable enough to handle three availability zones. Okay, and now this all together forms an availability region. Sorry, it will all forms a region. Okay, so this is about global reach and regions and availability zones and edge locations. Okay. Any questions so far from team? So should we move to the next slide, right? Any questions? Please let us know on the chat box. Let me just check. Oh, okay, thanks. No questions so far. So I'm just taking to next topic is compute service. So I hope you understand what is the region, what is the availability zone, and what is edge location. Okay. Now compute service. See, in any industry, to run a small or a large application, we require at least a virtual machine or a physical server and to deploy this application. Without these requirements, in any of the world, we cannot run anything. At least some platform need to be there to run these kind of applications. So, like that, if you talk about a private cloud infrastructure, there will be a server, storage, virtualization layer, hypervisor, and virtualization. On top of it, you need to create a virtual machine. On, on inside the virtual machine, we will deploy the application. Okay, in the private cloud infrastructure. That is, I'm talking about a typical data center at the customer premises. If you talk about the AWS scenario, we are not talking about server storage and all stuff. We are talking about directly about the virtual machine. So we are only focusing on the virtual machine, not on the behind infrastructure what is contains. So that virtual server is called EC2. So the virtual server is called EC2. That means it's called Elastic Cloud Compute or Compute Cloud, vice versa. Okay. So in AWS uh, 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 services, basically you talk about computer services, all are starts with E. That's called elastic. So when you see something with E on Amazon series, it's called E, elastic. Okay. So in these EC2 instances, basically they are virtual servers. Okay, there's no rocket science to understand what is like what contains behind the physical hardware storage. So we are not going to bother about anything of that infrastructure. Why? Because AWS is already taking care of that physical server storage and virtualization layer, whatever they are providing, they are taking care of that. Only we have to worry when when you are using, we need to bother about only the application level only. We don't need to bother about infrastructure or power goes or not. We don't need to check anything. So in these EC2 instances, we will have a variance actually, because every application requires different kind of specifications, right? Maybe SAP requires some specification, ERP requires some specifications like that. Okay, so like that, EC2 contains like compute optimized device and storage optimized device and performance optimized device like processing power and all stuff. Okay, so like that, EC2 instances, different type of EC2 instances are available. So among that, I can just brief you that there are series start with C. Okay, C series starts with for a compute resource, you require more compute resource, then the series going to start with C. If you require more memory intensive application, maybe like SAP application scenarios, there will be R series are available. So like that, we will choose as per our requirement. We'll choose the particular instance. Okay, that is about EC2 instance. What about ECS and EKS? ECS is nothing but elastic containerization service. EKS is nothing but Kubernetes service. What is containerization service? I'll just brief you about what is container. Okay, container is something. For example, if you want to launch the application, you require an operating system. On top of the operating system, you're going to launch your application, right? So what you do, one operating system is only works for one application in which scenario, in virtualization, virtual server scenario or physical server scenario. Okay, but when you talk about container, the same operating system used for to run multiple applications on the same operating system itself. Okay, it will be confusing because it is like an app. For example, you take an Android is an operating system. On top of it, you're creating apps, right? The same way in ECS also. An example, I'm giving an example of this Android thing. When you see ECS, in ECS you will have only single operating system, either Windows or Linux. In that you have containers which runs the like a Docker machines, which runs the different applications on inside. So each application may work for a different functionality. So why this concept came is, if you want to install, if you want to enable any virtual machine, or you want to offer any service to your development team, if you create a virtual machine, that many operating systems have to attach to this virtual machine. But when you see containerization, one single operating system, you create multiple Docker machines inside or containers, and you run multiple applications. So it will save a cost of your operating system licensing. And EKS is something that it is a Kubernetes service which will help you to manage. For example, this 100 containers you have created. Who is going to manage that? Kubernetes service is going to manage it. Okay, it's a managed service. Now there is something called Forget. Forget is nothing but a serverless architecture to run this container service. It will work with ECS and EKS. Forget will work with ECS and EKS. That's it. This all belongs to container management service only. Okay. Now coming to Lambda. See, Lambda concept is very interesting. Okay. Why? Because now we are talking about EC2 instance like virtual server, installing operating system, and on top of it application. Now we talk about container service. Lambda is completely like a serverless architecture. Why I said is serverless architecture, because you want to run a server, minimum of 2 GB or 4 GB memory is required. At least you require like a 4 core or 2 core, 4 core, 8 core of processing core is required. To run Lambda functionality, you may not require that much of functionality. What exactly happens in Lambda functionality is, you just trigger your code, you just run your code on the Lambda functionality. So to run your code in a regular scenario, what you do, you take a virtual machine, install operating system, install your application. On top of it, you install your Java plugins to run the code and all. In Lambda functionality, you don't need to all these kind of things. You just need a serverless architecture, deploy the application and run. It will run. Another beauty of Lambda is that will what will happen in Lambda is uh, whenever you run a code, at the time only you are going to pay. You're not going to pay, for example, 12 o'clock you have started and till evening 6 o'clock you have worked. That means there is 6 hours time you have worked. In this 6 hours time, you may run only like 4 to 6 you have run a code. That means only 2 hours you have done. So you don't need to pay 12 to 6. Whenever you run a code, like 4 to 6, that 2 hours only you're going to pay the amount to AWS for Lambda. So for running small applications or testing applications, or you want expecting any code generation kind of thing, you're developing a code, for example. So at the time, it is recommended to use Lambda functionality. So it will comes to you only for usage. As per the usage only, it will charge. There's nothing more than you have charged for the time you have not spent or whatever. So whenever you spend that much only, you charge. So this is about compute service. Okay, I'm just going to take ahead to explain about EC2 inside EC2 what is exactly happens. In inside EC2, as I explained to you, it will support open systems and it will support a, x86 platform of Intel architecture or ARM cluster from Amazon. And there is like something like a general purpose hard disks are there available. In general purpose hard disks, I'll just explain you in coming slides. There's a bare metal and disk networking capabilities are there inside the EC2 instance to run. So these are the backend connections are available to run a EC2 instance. So these many processors are supported till now. So for example, Intel, everybody aware of it. NVIDIA, like for example, you want to run any graphical intensive application, your company is 3D diagram designing company, or you are in construction company who develops the 3D diagrams, or you are an animation company who develops the uh, animation in the space. So you can use the same AWS instances for run, which will come with NVIDIA supported. And there are AMD processors and ARM processor is from basically from Amazon. So these many variant of processors are available in AWS directly. Okay, and these many operating systems are supported by AWS. There is Linux, Amazon Linux is developed, and SUSE is there, CentOS, and Windows is already there. So these many operating systems are supported by EC2 instances. And coming to Windows licensing concept in cloud service providers, comparatively our competitors, AWS is the major share, which is like 57.7% of share it is capturing in Microsoft licensing space. Okay, comparatively our competitors, I don't want to name it, but our competitors are visible here. So their consumption also is less comparatively AWS. So that means we have that much of customer following and that many services are running on our regions and availability zones. Okay. Now coming to EC2 pricing model. Okay. In EC2 pricing model, see, EC2 is something like no, it's like a pay as you go model. Okay, it's something like we went to a resort and we have checked into hotel and we have just paid the hotel how much time we spent, right? The same concept is happening in AWS also. You come and take your EC2 instance service and pay how much time you use. Sometimes that is not the case. For example, if a company hired a hotel room, they will pay for a 1 month, a 2 months, or 1 year contract, right? Same way in AWS also, the EC2 instances, you can once you take it, you have a plan of running 1 year or 3 years. That much of time also you can run the same concept in AWS as well. So it is called on-demand instance and reserved instance and spot instance. These are the three variants of this price in AWS. When you talk about on-demand, this is something, for example, you are launching a new application. As of now, we don't have any clarity that how much memory space consume and how much processing is going to consume or storage space. So in that case, what we suggest is go with on-demand instance cost, so that whenever you are developing an application, your resource will be not reserved, or they are not restricted. They are flexible enough to grow up and down, scale up, down, and all these things can be happen in on-demand. Reserved instance, we recommend once the application is ready and you know how many users are going to hit your application and how much of memory consumption, how much of processing power you're going to utilize. So when you have a clear idea about reserved instance, at the time we recommend you to go to reserved instance price. There will slightly, there will be a committed utilization, I mean some committed contract period will be there, that may be like 1 year or 3 years as per your requirement. Spot instance is very interesting concept. Uh, how it is going to work is, for example, you are an e-commerce company. Today you have developed an application to sell some equipment on online, like e-commerce, like Amazon, for example. So in that time, so what has happened? You install, you run an application, it is running fine, going good. 1,000 users you expected, it's joined, and it is running fantastic. Suddenly there will be a festival season came. Okay, and you are not expected another 1,000 users are going to come because you are running an offer to the customers to attract, and you said that 80% discount on some kind of mobiles and all stuff. Okay, so what will happen? 1,000 users hit the existing infra. So if it is not supported, what will happen? The instance will be crashed, and your production server will be down, and the users will be pissed off. So what, to avoid that scenario, what we do is, we know that this festival season is coming. So what we do, we calculate the risk, and we assume today we are only 1,000 users. Tomorrow, during this offer season, there are another 1,000 users are going to come, or 2,000 going to come. We're not going to predict. Let's do like this. We create an auto scaling group in the same EC2 instances. We run a production one like that. Whenever requirement is coming, then in auto scaling group, we will make sure other instances are similar instances are going to join to the auto scaling group, and these auto scaling groups share the load of what we are getting from the outside people, like another 1,000 users load is going to be shared between this other instance. So what will happen? Your production will not be impacted, and this load will be shared with other instances, and your application will run continuously running, and your business goes smoothly. And what will happen once the season is finished? These are whatever instances are added to the auto scaling group, those can be removed, and you no need to pay once you are removed from the auto scaling group. So the final what we're trying to explain in spot instance is, whatever instances are connected for a particular time period to the auto scaling group or particular time period only, that is called spot instance charges. So in peak time, you can opt for this auto scaling group and apply for a spot instance price and utilize how much consumption has happened. Later, once the slow down, then you can remove the instance from auto scaling group and you can run the production normally. So this spot instance price applicable when the instances are added and used for a certain time period only. Okay. So far, I hope you understand what is EC2 instance, what are the type of containers and Kubernetes services are there, and I hope you understand Lambda functionality. And there is a EC2 instance, what are the operating system you're covering, and what is the pricing model. Okay. So EC2 architecture, as I explained to you earlier, like physical infrastructure, the hypervisor, and top of it, you can see there is a small and large and instance are there. No, this is what we see as a customers. We see only the small and large instances. Rest of the configuration is managed by the AWS completely, as I explained to you earlier. This is managed by AWS. So what hypervisor generally with AWS is using, earlier when they started their journey, they used to have a Zen hypervisor, but now from 2017 onwards, they are using something called a KVM based hypervisor, and the system is built on Nitro instance, Nitro system they have built overall. So this is a typical hypervisor scenario, and this is the Nitro system from AWS. So what happened when the Nitro system is used by AWS? So their concept is, this Nitro systems gives you more performance from the hardware and storage and networking. So they will squeeze the 100% of performance from the instances. So that's the reason they are using Nitro System, which contains KVM hypervisor and all. This is the components they use: Nitro cards and security chips and all. So far we have finished the complete service. If you have any questions, you can please ask us now, and we can explain, or you can put the questions on the chat box. So I try to answer them. I hope I'm moving to the next slide, that is called network services. Okay. So when you say network, in any infrastructure, in your organization, basically you're talking about, which basically has a LAN, obviously, right? Without LAN, we cannot connect our laptops or desktops to in your existing office. Like that, in AWS also, when you talk about the cloud, you need to have your own network, right? There are multiple users, other customers also coming, right? How can they know this is your network? That is the other company's network, because we're going to form our own network inside. Inside our own network, we will do our full activities like creating virtual machines, deploying applications, all the activities what we talked earlier is inside the network we're going to do. So like in every existing organization, you have a data center connected your existing laptops or desktop to LAN and all, right? Like that. Similarly, you're going to build a network inside the AWS. Okay. So in AWS networking service, we basically talk about five major services which is generally used by every customer. First, the base thing is VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Is a basic network. Whatever you going to allow a service, whether it is going to be inbuilt, inbound service you're developing, or you want to expose this service to the outside the world, everything going to do from VPC. VPC contains the IP, subnet IPs, all the things what we talk about your networking. What are the IPs you talk, right? IP version 4, IP version 6, all this can be done from VPC level. Without VPC, our journey will not start. This is the basic step we take while we are doing a deployment of network. There is another concept called elastic IP. What will happen in elastic IP? For example, uh, EIP means elastic IP. Example, you have some internal service, and there are some other services which can be exposed to public. For example, our company website. Okay, internal service, for example, our ERP application, which is not required to expose to public. It's only exposed to our internal users. But website, yes, publicly has to be available to other users. But both are from our company only. So what we do when we create a ERP system, we'll restrict that system only for internal access. When we develop a web application, we will expose this web server to the external URL. So to expose this web service, we use something called elastic IP. We give elastic IP to expose this public service to the outside the world from the internal network. Without elastic IP, we can't expose to the external world. That basically we talk about from the web service. Now, what is a direct connect? Direct connect concept is very simple. You have your organization in a place, for example, and you're taking a service from AWS Bahrain location. Okay, so you're running your ERP system on Bahrain location, but you're sitting in Saudi, right? So from here, you're trying to connect your server and deploying applications and all this. Same way, for example, your purchase team and the finance team, everybody sitting, and they're trying to access the system. The existing network, whatever you use, it will impact on the load, right? To accessing, there will be delay happens, right? The load is going to happen applicable on the network, and is going to connect it to the Bahrain location and do the file sharing operations and all stuff, right? There will be a network delay. To avoid that, we launched a concept called direct connect. So from your office to Bahrain location, there will be a dedicated line will be provided to you from AWS. So what is happening in direct connect? Whatever load you are trying to access from Bahrain location or deploying a Bahrain location through direct connect, you have a direct access. There is no third party network dependencies for on this. You connect, you take the service. They will enable a service from your office to the AWS cloud, then you can do whatever transactions you are expected from the AWS service. ELB is basically a load balancer. I told you, right? Some services start with E. E means elastic. Elastic load balancer. Load balancer, what it does, it will share the load and it will balance the network, and it will make sure the applications are available in case of any failure happens on the other side. So in ELB, there are typically three variants of ELBs are there. One is application load balancer. Second one is network load balancer. Third one is classic load balancer. Application load balancer is basically used for like web services, HTTP services and all. Network load balancer basically on the network traffic to manage TCP/IP protocols. Those stuff will work on network load balancer. And coming to the classic load balancer, classic load balancer is a very basic load balancer for to run few applications for a small organizations scenarios. We choose a classic load balancer. Route 53 is nothing but our DNS service, domain name service. So I hope domain name service understands like name to IP, IP to name conversion going to happen, right? While you're accessing. So that domain name service, which is offered from AWS, is called Route 50. Okay. So this is about networking. There are other services also there, but major services we talk about when you plan to deploy. These are the major steps we encounter while you're doing a deployment. So just go brief understanding of what is VPC. I explained the IP address, networking, network topology, routing tables. All this can be happening in VPC. VPC network forms like, for example, this orange box is talking about availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. And this is formed, the VPC formed between these two availability zones, and you can form a network here. You can run few applications on this availability ASIS A and ASIS B. Kind of thing, you can do it. And this is which I talking about the elastic IP scenario. When you have a public private service and ERP, and you can run a web application on public subnet mask, and here we can give the elastic IP kind of scenarios. Okay, so far we have covered compute service and network service. Any questions? Let's check the chat box for a quick moment. Okay, there are no questions till now. I hope everybody is understanding the concept clearly. So I'm just moving to the storage service. Okay. Okay, great. Now, in any company, storage is mandatory, right? To keep a data, you keep a file, you keep application information, you keep a database information. Whatever you do, storage is the key. Even in our mobiles also there will be storage, right? But in private cloud scenarios, when you see, we have a different variety of storage. Like when you're accessing a file system, you need a NAS box. When you're talking about a storage system like block level access, you talk about a SAN storage. When you talk about objects to be stored, you call object storage, which from different companies like Aurora, EMC, those guys are offering. So, and these three are work for a different purpose. File maybe work for NAS only work for a file system. Storage maybe work for only for the SAN storage work for block and database performance or IOPS intensive application. And object storage basically used for video contents, an image, object based storage. Basically, we talk about metadata information kind of thing. What is metadata? Metadata is something that you talk about a street, and you're going to have the full street information, like what is the street number, what is the pin code, which location is belongs to that street. This is called metadata. So this kind of metadata information is going to store on object based storage, right? In a regular data center scenario I'm talking about. Okay, the same scenarios in AWS, we will call it as EBS. That is from block storage is called as a EBS. That is elastic block storage. File service, what we are calling here, is called elastic file system. And object based storage is called S3. I just take a few moments here to explain you about what is EBS and what type of hard disk services are available from them. Okay, we're not talking about any particular hard disk. We will not talk about service. Okay, so coming to EBS, you have instance EC2 instance. You're running application. Application data will going to sit on EBS. So each application may not require that much of IOPS, that much of performance power, and some application may require a low magnetic disk kind of thing also required, right? Maybe SAP may require IOP intensive, maybe ERP required IOP intensive, but you have a document share kind of thing that may be not required more IOPS kind of thing. Okay, so what in block storage we'll have four variants. One is general purpose SSD, and second is throughput optimized or IOP intensive applications, IOP intensive space, and throughput optimization, and magnetic disk. So when you select general purpose SSD, which will purely an SSD service from AWS, it is attached by the SSD space is attached to the EC2 instance. When you talk about magnetic disk, maybe it may be magnetic disk and low performance disks. Basically, typically in a regular scenarios of a data center, we talk about a SAS storage, right? SAS hard disk, right? Kind of. I'm not saying I'm not committing that SAS disk, but the kind of disks are going to run there, and it will give you low performance. Based on our requirement, we can check whether it is required for general purpose or maybe required for magnetic disk. That is the EBS volume, which is from the Amazon to EC2 instance. Each EC2 instance contains EBS by default. Okay, but the EBS volume may differ from these variants. SSDs or general purpose SSDs or magnetic disks. This is going to be variant. File service, basically this is used for a file system. Um, for example, you have a requirement of huge file documents scanned in your organization. You want need a file service, so you can opt from a EFS from AWS. Now, eh, we are going to talk about object-based storage. What is offered in object-based storage from AWS, which is called S3. S3 means it's a simple storage service. I can say that this AWS service S3 is the first service from AWS to offer to the end users or customers basically. Okay, this object-based storage, as explained about, it contains the image file system and it contains metadata about the document or information about a system. Everything is available in everything is supported by S3 bucket. So in S3 service, we call it as a bucket. Okay. So in S3 bucket, there are so many scenarios are used. S3 is used for storing your backup data, and to do an archival, you use S3 bucket. So basically, you want to keep any backup information or you want to keep any file, video content or metadata kind of scenarios, object IDs or whatever, you use S3 bucket. S3 bucket comes with, I can say, 5 variants, but majorly we use. I can bring you 3 instances for on a spotlight. First instance is standard. Standard is something that whenever you require information, it can be pulled out from the standard. There is no delays, nothing at all, and it is slightly higher. S3 bucket standard. There is the infrequent access. See, in your company, you have taken a backup of one file. Okay, every day evening you are taking a backup. Whenever you require a file to be retrieved or the system crashed, right? At the time only you touch the backup files and to whether the backup is there or not. You check, right? So, but it's not a regular activity, right? You only take the backup and you don't check the backup file every day, whether it is backed up or not, or what files are contained inside the backup, right? Whenever it is required, then only you check. So that scenario we call it as a infrequent access. Okay, so those kind of system we can use infrequent access in comparatively standard version. infrequent access data may be lesser charge. And there is something called a Glacier. Glacier is also a S3 bucket service. What exactly happened in Glacier is you have taken a yearly backup, right? For example, you've taken a 2018, 2019, 2020 backup, okay? And you don't touch the 2018 backup until unless you required any file from a 2018 backup, right? So, but where you going to keep that much of data uh, and with a less cost? What you do, we'll use Glacier for that kind of very rarely archived data. Very rarely we required information from that particular data files. Those stuff going to be stored on Glacier. So comparatively standard to Glacier, there is a huge price difference. For example, it is charged 0.023 cents in a per GB. The same thing in Glacier is charged 0.001 to 0.004 as per the demand, as per the as per the region availability zones. Okay, so the price is much cheaper in Glacier, and you can keep all the information in this. So that's the reason Glacier is going to be used. Okay. So another beauty of S3 bucket is it contains a minimum of 3 availability zones. You all 3 variants are contains 3 availability zones. Okay. So 3 availability zones, that means that our data is very much secure. We have very less in terms of losing a data. I can promise you that in 1 petabyte of files you can lose one single file. So that much of guarantee is AWS is going to offer to you. So and typically, there are customers like in AWS, Netflix, and other like news channel. There are so many news channels also. They deploy the infrastructure on AWS. Those people are using to store their video content and all the files on S3 bucket. And this is much cheaper than comparatively any other storage service in AWS platform. Okay, so now we're going to talk about AWS block storage we discussed, file storage we discussed, S3 bucket we have discussed, and Glacier we have discussed. There is a very important concept of storage gateway. So what is a storage gateway is when you are opting service from AWS, a particular storage service, to communicate with that particular storage service, you need a storage gateway. It just works a plugin between your Office to AWS Cloud for storage services. There is another beauty here is called AWS Snowball Edge and AWS Snow Mobile. Okay, so what is Snowball Edge and what is Snow Mobile is? Snowball Edge is a storage box. Okay, uh, why it is going to use is and which scenario is going to use is, for example, today you have taken AWS service, okay, and you are transferring all your existing servers data to AWS. Okay, for example, you have terabytes of data, typically like 50 terabyte or 60 terabyte data here. You can't migrate this much of data from your on-premises to cloud, and there is a huge bandwidth impact. There is a drops in the network. All this got to happen, right? Because it's a terabytes of data, and you're uploading on a AWS cloud. So to avoid uh, that kind of delays or a process or something, AWS will shift a unit. It is like a typically looks like a suitcase, which having a ports inside. So the suitcase comes to the customer location. Then it will contains the SAS port or fiber channel connectivity, whatever you are having from your storage. Then you connect this suitcase kind of device to the existing storage or network device. Then you can transfer the data to uh, this suitcase. So this is called a Snowball Edge. So what happened? What is contained inside Snowball Edge? It contains the some kind of EC2 instances and the storage capacity of like 80 terabyte of capacity inside the Snowball Edge. So inside the 80 terabyte of data is there. So you have planning for 50 or 60 terabyte that you can use it. And this is encrypted from the AWS, and the encryption key has been shared with the customer. And once the customer transfer the data to the Snowball is shifted to the AWS cloud, and the AWS team will connect this box to customer infrastructure. That customer will use that encryption key to enable the data facility on the Snowball Edge and transfer the data. So here there is no other third party involvement or anybody to hack your data or see your data, because there are 256 encrypted encryption keys are available. Then these facilities are available. This will be secure keys are available and given to customers. So customer only managing the keys. So whatever key he's opening, customer only knows. Whatever key is opening, customer only knows. Okay. Here AWS just do a transport kind of thing. What is AWS Snowmobile is same concept as explained to Snowball, contains the terabytes of data capacity. When it comes to petabytes, what is going to happen? When it comes to petabytes, AWS shifts a big truck to customer location. The truck contains petabyte of storage capacity and number of ports, cables, that cables are going to connect to your data center. Then you transfer the data, petabytes of data, to AWS Snowmobile. From here, the Snowmobile container move to AWS cloud. There, AWS is connected to the physical connection. Then same process like encryption keys, and you enable it and you transfer the data to AWS cloud. So what are the advantages you can see from this is you don't have any delays in terms of transferring the data from one location to another location of network choking or network bandwidth lag or something like that. There's no drops at all. So this will be used to transfer terabytes and petabytes of data. So this is all about our storage services on AWS. Till now we have discussed about compute service and network services and storage services. If you have any questions, please ping me on Q&A. Let me just go there and see any questions. No, there's no questions at all till now. Okay, thank you. Okay, I hope you understand the concepts very clearly. In case anything missing, you want to ask anything, please ask. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll explain you clearly with examples. Now we are going to talk about database services in AWS. Okay, before moving to database services on AWS, let's understand what is the database service available in the market. There are typically relational database, non-relational database. Relational database, we know, everybody knows. Oracle database is a relational database, and SQL database is MySQL is sorry, Microsoft SQL is yeah.
There are two questions. If you can answer before going to the fourth part.
Yeah. Elastic. Okay. S3 bucket object, is there any size limitations? Okay. That's a good question. S3 bucket object, is there any size limitation? There's no limitation in terms of size. It is an expansion can be do. So there's no restrictions in S3 bucket. So today you can start with 50 GB and you can expand how much capacity you require, and there is no capping also for S3 bucket. Okay. Sorry, Mohammed, you mentioned Elastic. I couldn't read the full question properly. Can you please elaborate? Then I can try to answer the question. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for asking the question. S3 bucket don't have a capacity limit. It can be increased anything. You can start as low as possible, like 10 GB, 50 GB, 100 GB, or nothing. And you can increase how much capacity is required for you. Okay. And you want to monitor this, yes, there is a small lambda functionality we can write to check the capacity utilization on S3 bucket. That can be done while you deploy. And the second question from Mohammed, Elastic block storage covers the online platforms. Okay, Elastic block storage covers the see, Elastic block storage is the storage box. Okay, which is whatever application you deploy, it can be function as simple as a virtual machine. Okay, virtual machine also has the storage capacity, right? So it will have a storage capacity from EBS volume. So from EBS, whatever service you run, for example, you run an e-commerce application or you do a SF application, whatever the data is contains, it will run. Okay, so In your case, if you talk about, for example, e-commerce application you want to run, yes, online application can be run on the Elastic block storage. Okay. Any other question, guys, or should we move to the database service? Okay, great. I'm moving to the database service now. Okay, coming to, I just explained you, right, there are two database services like relational and non-relational database. Relational database, we know that Oracle, basically biggest chain in the market, and non-relational databases like DynamoDB and MongoDB kind of thing. So what a difference going to come, okay? In Oracle, for example, you take a banking scenario, you a bank runs an account information of Vidya Sagars. What are the transactions that done from 2009 to 2020, and it will maintain the table format inside the database. They will contain the tables, right? So there is a structure and there is a table format will be there, right? So each table contains a relation. So, for example, I done 2019. I have done some transaction. If I go back and check, and what is the relation, where the funds are come and where he spent, all the information is available there. Non-relation database is something that non-relation database, that data storing style is different. It is stored on the file type, like it stores like a box. There's no tables contains inside the non-relation database. Typical scenarios, you can take an example of Airban is a hotel service company. Um, so that company may not require a user way, just require the who is the user, what ID is carrying, what age is contains and all, right? It does not contains the what I have done last night, or where all this information not required in non-relation database, right? So this is the difference between a relational database and non-relational database in regular scenario. In same thing in database services in AWS also, we call it as managed relation database service. In managed relation database service, there are multiple services are there, including Oracle and Microsoft SQL also. And there is something called Aurora. Aurora is also comes under the managed relational database service. Coming to the non-relational database services, as I explained to you, like data will store on the files types and all, there's no table contents, that comes under DynamoDB. And there is something called Amazon Redshift. Amazon Redshift is something like a data warehouse service, where you exactly use is you have a multiple databases and you have something called a data lake in between, which is runs on S3 bucket, uh, and on top of it you're running EC2 instances, okay, to connect these all the connections from data lake to your database services and EC2 instances together. Then data warehouse going to be act as a primary role. In data warehouse, it's all connected together. Database service connected, and S3 bucket is connected. Which inside the S3 they are running a data lake, actually collection of data, and on top of it there is the EC2 instance is running. All these three services are connected to data warehouse service to deliver uh, deliver the output from the requested input. Okay, so data warehouse works like a warehouse service for databases. Okay, and coming to non-relational database, DynamoDB one I explained, and Neptune is one there, and there's a document DB is there. Okay, these are the relational non-relational databases. Okay, non-relation database, DynamoDB, Neptune comes under non-relation database, and relation database we're going to discuss about. This structure is explained like what is a relation database, how the happens, what are the tiers are there, tier of levels are there. Okay, there are data warehouse. What happens? I explained to you, right? Connected with the data services like NoSQL database and search engine, cache. All these are connected here. Coming to the relational databases, we have something called Amazon Aurora and MySQL and SQL, PostgreSQL and Oracle and SQL services and MariaDB. So these all comes under the relational database. Okay, till now Amazon is supporting by Oracle is supported by Amazon, and SQL is supported by Amazon. MariaDB and MS SQL is also supported, and there is something called Amazon Aurora. See, Amazon Aurora is the Amazon's own database service, okay, which was actually invented by Amazon team. And what exactly happened in this Aurora is Aurora is completely compatible with, fully compatible with Oracle and SQL. If you are running any Oracle database inside your data center, and you have a button from Oracle saying that Oracle is now has a launch of you need to buy a license per core license, right? And for on top of it, you want to take a to manage this database, you have to take a Oracle database service and all. And also on top of it, you take the support service. And if tomorrow you want to increase any core based application, you have to buy another core license. And that the amount what you spend on Oracle license is huge. Okay, so to protect your business in terms of licensing and to reduce your cost in terms of TCO and RTO scenarios, spends on the money for their business growth or whatever. Aurora is offered to you from Amazon. You can simply can migrate. It is 100% compatible. There are customers who are already migrated and running successfully on Oracle to Aurora and running successfully. What is the beauty here in Aurora is once you migrated from Oracle to Aurora, you will have a 1 year free credit. After successful migration, you will have 1 year free credit. And second thing is, and there is no licensing at all. There is no core-based license concept at all in Aurora, and it is fully managed service. And you can and zero admin struggles are there because once you migrated, it's completely manageable and it's fully managed service. And beauty advantages that there's no license for you and 1 year free credit will be there. And uh, and it's fully managed service from the Aurora. When I say fully managed means inside the Amazon inside the public cloud, the Aurora instances are highly available and highly secure. So, for example, in our private cloud scenarios, you take Oracle database is running. In case Oracle production server goes down, again you have to depend on DR, right? Here, it is completely high available. In case one instance down, also a second instance is keep on running. So it's fully managed service actually. And 1 year free credit going to come. There is no on top of it. There is no licenses are applicable for Aurora. And Aurora is compatible with SQL service, SQL and Oracle as well. Okay? So that is from databases. I just give you a brief idea about DynamoDB also. That is a non-relational database as I mentioned, and it is also fully managed service. DynamoDB also fully managed service and zero admin. So when I say fully managed, inside the AWS cloud, these instances are highly available and highly secure. Okay. Any questions from database services? Would like to cover anything here? You can free to ask any questions related to database or any EC2 instance questions or regionals and all. Is there any other topic also you want to discuss on existing infra? We can discuss as well. All right, I'm just moving to the additional services. Okay, advanced services. Okay, advanced services. There are 200 plus. There are 200 plus services are available from AWS. So in that, for example, today you are planning to launch a web service. I told you right, ELB is there. To protect this web service, we have something called Amazon Web Services are available. Okay, from security point, we have something called Web Services available. Web Application Firewall. Sorry. Okay, we have availability from security compliance. We have WAF is available, and we have something called Inspector service is available. Inspector service is like it will check on the policies whether whatever the service we have allowed, whether it is running perfectly or not, whether there is any loopholes are there. All these things will be verified. There is something called IAM, Identity Management Service. IAM. Okay, what is IAM is? It is simply saying when you access an AWS management console, because it's a web service, you have to manage from the management console only. Then only you are able to see EC2 instance and all. In your company, you are an administrator, and under you there are system engineers are working under you, and each system engineer having a different uh, work tasks are allotted, right? For example, you have a database engineer, you have a application engineer, you have infrastructure management engineer, right? So in IAM, you have to give an management access to each engineer, right, to access their own services. So what you do is you create a group policies. So in IAM, you create a group policy. Each group policy, you will act as an super user. That is called in AWS is called a root user. You will be a root user. Under you, there will be IAM users. These IAM users are your own engineers who are working for a particular task. For example, database engineer only work for database, and in IAM role, you give a database access to the particular IAM engineer, particular user, and you give a particular role to an IT infrastructure guy who can manage the EC2 instances and all. You give it a particular role to that person. So like that, you can manage and you can control the your infrastructure through IAM. IAM is a very basic concept. It starts there, and whatever policies you create from there only, everything is started. And we have a business advantage of machine learning. For example, tomorrow you are planning to launch any machine learning service. We have a readily available infra is there. You can use and our ML services, and you can benefit it from that. So you no need to start building your own ML service. You can come and knock out doors and use our ML services, and you can run your code on top of it, and you can get the output and function. Okay. We have migration services, data migration services also available. Well, we have something called cloud endure tool from AWS. What we do here is, for example, you are having already a private cloud is running in infrastructure, and you are planning for a DR site on AWS. But you said that I don't want to run as a hot DR. We like to go with a cloud DR. Maybe in future, whenever it is required, I want to move to hot DR. So what we do is we use a cloud endure tool. We deploy the agents on the your existing infra. Then we will start migrating that infra to AWS cloud. In AWS cloud, we will not going to power on your entire infrastructure, or we are not going to run your database service. It only migrates the information and keep the information available in AWS cloud. So whenever you require a hard DR, then only we will power on and run the virtual machines on the DR side. What advantage you can get from this task is, first, you are going to migrate your data to AWS, and there you are not running anything. Then you are not going to charge anything, right? You're not running any instances. Maybe there will be data migration charges, and there will be like slightly storage utilization charges will be applicable until unless you power on any EC2 instance there. Okay. The data migration, data storage charges are very nominal, very little in AWS. Okay, that you can affordable. Once you says that I want a hot DR has to be run, then we will run the instances at a DR location. Then only you charge. So if you want to run a cold DR, we are not going to charge anything, but less than like storage services. Apart from storage service, we're not going to charge anything for the EC2 instances. Once you have a hot DR, then the EC2 instances are running. Then only the charge will be. That is for a case-to-case basis we can discuss. So every customer may not require a hot DR. Every customer may require a cold DR, right? Based on the case to case, we can discuss and we can collaborate a project discussion. We can give you an idea what is the best practice to go. And maybe each instance may not require a hot DR also. Like, for example, your production, you can run a hot DR, and other applications like documentation or file system or any AD service or what, you may not require a hot DR kind of thing. In that scenarios, you can go with a cold DR option. Those applications can run under cold DR, and production servers can run on hot DR. So like that, you can save some cost on when you're applying planning for a DR services. Okay, so these are the few services, and there are other services from AWS, like including robotics also available these days in AWS, and there are satellite services are available in AWS. So whatnot. So every customer for our services are available for them. Whatever they want to run in terms of their applications, our services are available for them. You can run anything on this. Okay, and we will provide you trainings to do certifications and all. And our certification levels will be solution architect and system admin and developers. So solution architect basically works for the infrastructure level and who designs the solution for before we deploying. Sysadmin like who manage the infrastructure, and sys development is developer is going to run on the development tools like coding, writing, developing the Java applications, those teams. So in that associate level and professional levels are there. So like that, our service is going to run. Okay, this is typically an ML stack, machine learning stack. What generally we are offering and all. Um, apart from that, we have something called a marketplace. What exactly happen in marketplace is, for example, you require a particular firewall service to be enabled in AWS service at the same time you're running on from a private cloud. So to secure it, you need an access to your AWS cloud through firewall. So for example, in our case, Fortinet firewall. So Fortinet firewall service is directly available from marketplace, which is readily installed and readily available. We just need to do a configuration on the network port, IP addresses and all. Then the service going to start from the marketplace. In the same case, you talk about any particular operating system is required for you. Apart from what I mentioned, you require any particular operating system or in SUSE, for example, your SAP production server running on SUSE application. This SUSE application production need to be in high available. Then that SUSE HA license also available in the marketplace directly. And you require any backup service like Veeam backup or Commvault backup service or any Veritas backup service. Those backup services are also available in marketplace. So there are 7,000 plus products are available in marketplace. I'm just given a few examples. Um, Case to case, when we are doing a project, if any particular application requires an attention from the AWS marketplace, then we can definitely go and review there whether it is available or not, and we'll suggest you as per the requirement. And this concept marketplace, we have something called a bring your own license concept. So we opt for a service and $0, and we apply our own license there. For example, you are already having existing license. If you is able to migrate, there is something called SS, service level agreement has to be there between your product company to transfer a license to any virtual platform on the AWS cloud. Then, if you have that license, then we can migrate this license to an AWS marketplace service. Then we can utilize it. So that is the beauty of marketplace. And we have also have something called workspace, which is basically using for a virtual desktop infrastructure model. What happens, you have for example, you want to launch any 50 user or 100 user requirement for buying a laptop or a desktop. You can opt for a workspace desktops from the AWS cloud. Here we will give you with the operating system license completely for Windows and Amazon Linux also there at the moment. So we offer this service, and based on your requirement of memory and processing power, we will design that workspace instances and we will supply to you. And very competitive price will be there. You definitely enjoy if you come to workspace requirements also. No need to spend too much money to buy a physical hardware. You can log in, and the beauty is with this workspace you can launch this virtual desktop from anywhere. For example, you're using a tablet. Using a tablet, you can launch this application. You're using a desktop, a laptop, whatever. You can simply click on it and you can browse the desktop and you can run the functionalities. And whatever applications you are willing to deploy, you can deploy on it, and we can create a image builder. Using that image builder, we can create multiple virtual desktops for you on the same way. Okay, so that is another so the service we are offering from the AWS. Any questions so far? We're coming to an end for the session, and so far we have covered. Sorry, I'm just going to. Okay, folks, thanks for joining with us today. I hope the session is interested to you and you enjoy the session. Any questions related to this topic, or you want to discuss any case for your existing challenges on your existing infrastructure? and you want to see any how to move to AWS cloud services and all, please let us know. Definitely we'll support you. Firdaus is there with you, and we are also there behind, so to support you all. And thanks for joining us today once again. Okay, have a good day.
Thank you, dear.